Welcome back, fellow armchair generals. This is Gamer 1745 here with my continuing playthrough of Hearts of Iron 3 with Black Ice 8.6. Okay, wanted to start off with one thing. I always sort of starting a session, sort of look around and clean up things, if you will. And I saw this. Okay, this is red mountain artillery. Activation here. Now, the reason it's red, and it's taking up, if I got this all correctly, a slot, is that it got turned over most likely by an event granting a, 5 days research, 20 days research, whatever it might be. And since the additional time is granted by an event, this doesn't automatically go down to the bottom or get turned off. So I don't know how. I don't think it was up there long, but because I think I would have spotted it looking at the text. But just to show you what's going on, which can happen because we, the different modders, do a lot of those things, and they can click over. Now, if it's something that can, scroll on to next year's, our next level, it just does that automatically. If it's something that's grayed out, you can have another hung sort of thing here. So I don't know if this will, yeah, see, so now we have a free slot or partial slot, and we are in 37. So you sort of want to do these to build up to the next level of small ship classes, because I sort of disagree with this, because I think you should be able to build a lot of the small boat warfare ships, spam them out, if you will. I haven't played, obviously, until now, this version of it, but the last version we were playing tied in granting those small warfare vessels, instead of putting them, producing them like regular naval vessels, into events conditions based on researching through them. So, okay, a little too fast. Pause. A little too fast. Okay, don't care. What does Japan want? We would give them money for rare materials. We have enough money. Okay, I'll improve relations. Finland. Okay, again, I want to improve relations. So again, you don't need to improve relations. Portugal. We would give them fuel for some money. Great, that'll pay for some of that we just did. And okay, yes. Oh shoot, I dismissed that. Oh well. No big deal. Okay, single engine aircraft frame research is advanced. So that gets that. Then of course we'll come back and do some of the upgraded techs. Getting that, which will get us to some of this. Excuse me. These are damage control systems. No, fine. Fuselage aerodynamics. Were there two that came up? Oh, medium armor designs increased. Also. Heavy armor designs, that sounds good. Need to at least start working on that. In the Netherlands, we give them money for rare materials. And, well, we just don't need a big, huge amount like that, so no. Okay, so these are just about ready to hit. Already queued up a few more, and we're getting into the productions, but we're probably to go below 5 ICs for an IC. And a bunch just came up on the map there. Great. Okay. Naval HQ's advanced. Great, because organization and don't know why it's red for plus 20% radio strength, but that should be helping. And morale, which will help us overall. Yorktown is launched. Good, we need to know that. Fallgrün, or what is it, Case Green, I believe. Now there's two, just, yeah, Fallgrün Green. There was also later Case Green dealing with Ireland, which, of course, color-coded international views of what color of Ireland is, including, I agree with it, green. There. Okay. We can, no need or do it. This is part of the event chain dealing with Czechoslovakia, obviously, but because we're pushing this. This was definitely a plan, and there's a I think this is Case Green's, but one of the plans for Germany to deal with Czechoslovakia. I think this is, well, I don't know exactly what the date is. I'm just seeing stuff here in Austria, and I don't, but I see it color coded. Don't know if that was Austrian or whatever, but how they thought the invasion was going to go. But what this, and this goes, you know, the old saying, no plan survives contact with the enemy. I can provide two general exceptions to it. Salamis and oh man, I just had it in my mind. Cannae, a naval battle and land battle. They followed very much the plans before battle, and it happened just fine. It happened very well, so it does happen. But what? Oh man, I'm forgetting who, and I don't even, whether it was Bradley or Patton or one of the other generals in World War II, American, I believe, said, planning for the battle, well, I'm trying to get the quote, matters, but the plans don't, or something like that. Excuse me. Which goes into this, the idea is the idea of planning the battle, getting all the plans and everything ready to go, but it's not going to go as planned. It's sort of the exercise of where is the fuel dump, where is the ammo dump, how are we getting the fuel to the troops and the ammo to the troops, and what roads are they going to use. But in the end, it's all going to be on different roads and different things. But just by simply organizing yourself up, you're training yourself up, even in the middle of the war, for what's going to happen. So that's what this is representing. And they, to my understanding, This was not just a map room in Berlin's plans, but organized training exercises, if you will, for getting ready to deal with Czechoslovakia. So we get boosts to various, though some things have changed from when I originally did this. Some of the cavalry explanation and Great War analysis is now fully complete, but some of those still help. So we can do that, which costs some supplies, the training, or no need. We're going to do that. Air bases for Western Germany, round number 4. So I'm going to come down here. Okay, how far are we down? Okay, well, that looks like about the right amount of ICs to be making. And yep, that's sort of technical as I get. That looks about the right amount of ICs. There are some very good oh my gods, which is now slightly out of date for version, but still a very good primer, which I have linked on the main channel information. Sort of min-maxing. He, least of sort of the known quantities of people, he is the best min-maxer. There could be, of course, some guy hidden in the basement who's probably even better, but doesn't communicate out his min-maxing strategies. And there's some others, but I think, oh my god, it's one of the better ones. So if you want to get good min-maxing strategies and just how many scientifically researched ICs Germany should have at a given point, he's the person to look, one of the people at least. Okay, let me just pause this for a second. I need to get something to drink. Okay, I'm back. So if you want a really good primer on min-maxing best results, there's other people that do it, but I'm an instinctual player. Okay, good. We can decide not to do it, but I definitely want these. Rigs will be formed in Berlin. Yes. We want the. I think the other one is a. There we are. There's that. And there'll be future ones. Again, I don't know, but again, I don't know. I'm thinking here. That the traits of the land officers, which these are, even though we're looking for a Kriegsmarine commander of the right type, do not translate to the ships. That is my understanding. Now I'm rather sure that superior tactician doesn't. Of course, superior tactician works if it's commanding the fleet of the ships, but that's basically there for eye candy, just pure that. Now the Pour le Mérite medal here and the Kriegsmarine Command, which basically just if you have higher numbers here, nerfs it down, so you don't want to use it in a battle commander. And German General, of course, helps out. These no, it says submarine attack. I don't know. German General. Maybe it does. Maybe they've I don't know. Research it out whether it helps ships under their command or not. But it does help these actual, the artillery assigned here and the various other land elements. It does help that. I like the War Merit Cross because it has a lot of good bonuses, and this is also giving spotting and surprise. I don't know. The out of supply bonuses actually sort of hurt. You don't do that so well, but you get supply consumption minus 15%. That's always good to put in charge or put put there. So now what we can do here is at least temporarily, and for that HQ again. There we go. So I don't know who needs to be promoted. This fleet's grown enough. Properly command it. Actually, let's... I'm not planning on running any major, but we'll leave the blockade runner there. Because if we have to dash old guard, supply consumption, I don't know. If we have to dash somewhere. And as most of you probably already know, liners are for... The AI cannot... Transports are transports are transports. They did testing that they would try to do naval invasion landings even though you couldn't from passenger liners in some of the ships. So it screwed up the AI and the Enterprise's launch. Good. But humans can determine the difference. They have a tech that fires for the AI to do landings from all types of transport vessels. The humans, these are just transports, no longer amphibious or landing ability. Okay, Air Force HQs, great. Now, what we're going to do is stop these. We can keep doing them, but I actually think it's almost, yeah, again, I'm not the best min-maxer, but it's almost as fast. It's definitely faster in the number of days it takes to do it if you wait to 39, or 38, I should say. But we're not in the middle of combat rush. It's not going to get to the next one so much quicker, so we're going to do that, and then we want... In the first level, these are normally, you know, just first Flieger Corps, minor little thing. And is it here? No, is it here? Yes. So. Now what... Well, especially with the Admiral or the naval stuff. A captain is, in the Navy, is equivalent to a colonel, basically. So, and that's a... generally, it depends on the Navy, but generally by the time you're talking destroyers, you're talking full captain. So, and this is Flieger Corps. Well, yeah, aircraft were sort of important things. Well, let's attach him temporarily to the main Luftwaffe thing, because we're going to go through a later reorganization of these via events. I'm sort of waiting. I made sure they all had commanders now, but the next, after that major reorganization, we can do the fine-tuning. And I'm thinking, but I don't know, there'll be some Army HQs of various levels, not just the granting of corps, and then later as you get higher army levels with the special HQs, but maybe some by events. That's why I'm not reorganizing the German army now, just letting it sit there. We'll get to that in 39 or something. Okay, small fuel tank research. Okay, which now open things up. And we're already doing those. Aircraft fighter, which we could do, but we're going to wait till 39, I think. I do believe most of the production is not set to a level that are granted by events. I think they're targeted, meaning they've figured out, oh, this class of medium bombers is equal to this, so they're loading it in at that. I think that is. I can be wrong. Well, probably am at some level, but see, I just don't know when or if I'm going to build battle cruisers. Still looking at doing, but we have that one carrier that's in production. I don't know. No, at this point, well, military police. At this point, if I plan on actually building more carriers. Far from saying no or never. That's very far from that, but just no plans at the moment. Well, somebody stole our blueprints. Okay, close air support types have improved. That's good. We'll stop and shift that. Well, probably air is more important. Get some fighter pilot training. Carmina Burana premieres. This is Carl Ulf's Ors. Opera. So helps national unity. It says 0, but it just like it's probably like a 0.5. Let's see if what it goes. See if it goes to. Well, yeah, a little better. So I don't want those little events to be overtly impactful, but they, it adds up over time. Yes, the world is mostly peaceful now. Now it's big enough. Pocket right around the Republican capital and holding the coastline. Money for rare materials. Okay, we want to improve relations with Turkey. Okay, talked a little bit earlier why I think Guderian is the best German general. Had a hard time trying to find an early picture of Guderian. Obviously, he wasn't terribly famous early on. I believe this is from the period. And it's also rare that he's in his Panzer uniform, black uniform, where normally he's pictured just in the German general stuff. Generals had a lot of leeway. and their uniform is their pageantry going on, and as going through his schools, he was most assuredly entitled to wear the Panzer uniform, and it was thought to be sort of special. Um, limited quantity. You had to be in the Panzer Corps, and not just be in the division of the Panzer Corps or anything like that, but an actual tank driver type guy to wear it. And it was so jealously held onto that the Stimmgeschütz guys who rode around in the Stug, they had to wear gray. They could not wear black. They had the same cut of uniform, but because they weren't panzers, they were assault guns, they had to wear gray. Now, the idea for the gray, a lot of the martyr crews, they all wore gray. Because they were out, or a good portion of the crew was outside and exposed, just sort of like the driver's under armor. And so black would show up as, hey, there's somebody, clear target, where gray was meant to sort of blend in. Black, they sort of kind of want to claim or say that, well, it's all the oil and grease inside of a Panzer, and black doesn't show it, and the sort of the soot or exhaust fume dirt is all black, and so it doesn't show it so much. That's part of it. Part of it goes back to the Brunswick Hussars of the Napoleonic era, the anti-Napoleonic group that went and joined the British. Had used the skulls in the black. There's several reasons for it, partially over their killed commander and such like this. But so that's where it sort of goes back to, but they jealously held on to that. And so all the other non-tank tanks, Stimmgeschütz, martyrs, like some of the Sturm Tigers, and all those other sort of armored fighting vehicles all had to wear gray, and they could wear the same sort of Panzer wrap type jackets and pants and whatever, but they couldn't wear it in black. So, but he was a proper tank driver, so he could wear it, but he's rarely pictured wearing this stuff. And this is obviously without his hat. You can see why he often wore a hat, sort of balding at the top. Okay, so Achtung Panzer, I've read at least through once the English translation of it. Very good book, highly recommend it. And so this is, again, some are actually pretty good gains of like 60, but others are just 20 and 15, various research. So this represents, and this is a period copy cover. See the sort of primitive looking tank there. And this really sort of puts together the theories and ideas of Panzer warfare. Concentration of firepower, concentration of armor. Okay, well, transports here, so we will do that. And money for rare materials, okay. As well as operating with not just like concentration tanks, but combined arms, including using the air and other elements. Okay. Italy, we give the money for rare materials, certainly. Okay, the Marine essay. Again, the essay was all-encompassing. We've talked a lot about the Ritter essay and various elements there. It's already broken off by 1936, but the motor essay, which becomes, like I say, already broken off into the NS, National Socialist Motor Corps, NSKK, craft cart or whatever. Still very much as part of the essay is the Marine essay. The Marine SA is the naval contingent of the Sturmabteilung. The training will improve our sailors and make the Navy more politically correct. And so it does all of that. It never has any ships under its command, as I would consider, most people consider, but it does have boats. And I've even, which I think we'll maybe see an event here continuing along those lines. They even had like a mock-up of a tall ship inland on some lake for them to train well away from. So the sea commands stuff. So they do a lot of the, a lot of boating and sailing within sight of the land. Doing a lot of naval and marine type action, training and that going on, but they are never given any combat vessels. They're never, there's never like a Sturmabteilung submarines or cruisers or anything like that. No. Tank destroyer designs have advanced. Good. We'll go over and improve our transports here. So it's just a training organization, and it's politically correct. It's politically reliable. It is a National Socialist organization, and that means a lot. Really pushing the ideology in various levels into it. And so a great bulk of those personnel go into the Navy eventually. And I say a great bulk because there are reserve elements going on, meaning that they're not full-time. They've got day jobs, and very well could be working in and around dockyards, that are building the submarines. They're not going to put skilled submarine builders into ships because they won't need more ships built. But on, when they're not building submarines on their thing, they may be somebody out there training the Hitler Youth, because then we will see an event for the Marine HJ. Research mountain warfare equipment has completed. Okay, which grays that out. Yeah, let's... Yes. Big chunk of supplies to America. Yes. Smaller to Estonia. No, thank you. Oh, we're doing... Okay. That's because I don't want to have a thing pop up on me. Okay, we've gotten... Well, got lots of supplies. We still want to produce a surplus. So that's what we're doing with that. There's still a big surplus. Now, Let's move that to the top. Let's move these down to the bottom of this. Some of these artillery units. And I want to make it quick. We've had a bunch come up. Just where we have the heavy industry, make sure that's maxed out. Still more may be pumped in there via event, but no more will be coming in via production. Oh, there we go. That's 2. We're going to move that to the top. And here. Maxed out. Yes, glad I'm doing this. Okay. Now we're just under 499, so just under 5 ICs, 4 ICs, so we want to do that. Yeah, I think that's a good mix. We're getting over 200 ICs currently. We'll get some more shifted over here. Well, let's actually do some more shifted now. I don't mind bringing this number down more, but let's just... we don't need to rush it. I'm going to say I'm sort of waiting for an event to kick in. I don't know which one, but just the next one that lowers descent to kick in. And this one will go up to there. Do what is needed. Okay, there we go. That should be good. Just brighter, I like that a little better. And since borders aren't changing any significant, like through combat, upgrade, sure, yes. I doubt they're upgrading to mulators, especially since there aren't any mulators at the time. Mulators, presuming I'm pronouncing that reasonably correct, are basically trucks that have a generally much cheaper. I don't know if you can tell between those half tracks and these half tracks. Much sort of a cheap half track replacement for the rear set of tires. And they were basically all done, not 100% done, but most of them were all done after the invasion of the Soviet Union, and the mud showed up as being a problem. Okay, we'll do that. So that just, if you know what you're looking at, you can sort of figure out what the photographs are telling you. And looking on the web, I very much don't trust the descriptions on the web of what a photograph is, if there's any visual evidence like that in there contradicting, because some article, some magazine, whether even not on the web, uses a photograph to illustrate a point. Then somebody, oh, well, they're talking about the invasion of France, and they have a photograph like that with a mulator in it, and then so it gets identified by somebody else as being a photograph of the invasion of France, and it goes on, and it gets around. The, what is it, Bundesche archives, German archives, they're pretty good, because they do, you know, dates and whatever the best recording that they have of when the, you know, photograph was taken, you know. But even that, you sort of have to look at it, and you go, if you look at it, oh, that tank wasn't produced until X, so it can't be that, because it's a month too early to get that damn tank out onto the battlefield or something like that. Which could just be the guys, reporting of, when he took the stuff is fuzzy. Okay, support tanks. Which we're not planning on building, but it will help any events or unit or tanks given via events. Okay, we will do medium velocity guns. I'm just thinking back to our last British playthrough. There were a lot of infantry tanks given via events. Now, of course, the British very much used infantry tanks. Air-launched torpedoes have advanced. Great. But we're stopping that now. Yeah, for the ones I want to do pretty well. So let's Adolf Hermann dies. He's well known Egyptologist, obviously writing in German, but brought forward understanding of hieroglyphics and things. Very much so. I have stayed, if you've played it, away from historical combat deaths, because we don't know that you're going to send General X to fight in Stalingrad and he's going to die there. And I do have one that oh boy, I forget exactly his name. He dies of a heart attack while jogging, or he has a heart attack while jogging and dies 2 or 3 days later, or a stroke, or whatever you want to call it. Okay. So, I'm sure the stress of the war and all played into it, but it wasn't a combat death. So things like that I definitely put in for flavor, for historical accuracy, for hey, maybe you've grinded that particular general up as a really really good general now, and oops, he's dead. Well, the Marco Polo Bridge incident. My understanding is that the Chinese sort of did fire on the Japanese, but of course the Japanese have been very provocative in carving up China. So yeah, the actual incident may or may not have been specifically orchestrated by the Chinese, or by the Japanese, but they were doing this thing. They had Manchukuo, or not just Japanese for Manchuria, but when I generally use that term for when I'm talking about the political groupings under Emperor Puyi, and that under the Japanese. If I'm just talking about the region, I call it Manchuria. So, because I do have YouTube is not watched in China. I do believe Hong Kong gets YouTube, and of course Taiwan gets YouTube, and I do have viewers there, at least a few. Not that they're enough that are viewing this, but so if you think I'm using terms that are prejudiced against you or against any other, it's sometimes I'm talking about Russia, the geographical location. Sometimes I'm talking about the Soviet Union, the political organization. But this area in here was some sort of, you can sort of see where this line is. This was not really part of Manchukuo. It was a sort of direct control bit of China, and they sort of used the earlier Republican flag, not the one with sort of the stripes similar to the Manchukuoan flag there. I can't really move my cursor over to it. But just a bunch of horizontal stripes, forget the color arrangement, that was set there. But that then morphs into a larger, as you know, as it goes on into the reorganized Chinese Republic, it sort of continues to morph. So this is sort of, they do sort of hold this little bit of China under direct occupation, as opposed to Manchukuo, as opposed to Beijing, or whatever you want to call the sort of Mongolian puppet of Japan. So, you know, it's Japan's looking for excuses. So whoever really at fault, I don't know. But on the Marco Polo Bridge incident, but it's definitely a thing. Okay, so we regain our manpower back from doing all of those airbase constructions, which is good. I don't like the air bases in Hearts of Iron 4 that they're on the state, or on the state level. Where it really super sucks is when you're talking about, ooh, the state of Egypt, which includes Sudan, and they have an air base, yay! It's not maybe quite that bad, but getting down into Africa, it is. It's that it's not just that the air zones, and they're improving with the new oak patch, but it's not just that coverage for a particular air zone, but it can be that I control most of the state but not the air base, but my air base in the other state is too far away, and I want to even build a quick air base, you know, level 1 to operate out of, can't do that kind of stuff where you're holding it. Also, where the air base and where the radar station is located does matter for its effective range. But you know, so they stick the air base, I don't know, like here in Araz or somewhere like that, for this region, and I'm trying to fly into Britain instead of sticking the air base in Calais itself to try to get the greatest, or the radar, the greatest reach into Britain or something like that. So I just don't like it. I wish they would move that back to the provincial level. Okay, well, Germany gets giving following effects. Don't know why that's affecting us. I don't know why. That's a B-Ice event, I'm sure. But the Queen, Ellie Beinhorn, is our Queen of the Air. Didn't we just get our manpower back for this? But we'll take level 5, yes. We want that. We'll pay for that. Trust me, you want all the lovely air bases, because we will be so much more flexible in where we place the air. Let's walk one of these guns up a little ways. Yeah, that looks good. Spain. Yes, we'll give you fuel. We need some fuel to help crush the remnants of the Republic. Okay. Let's see, 4-engine aircraft. I'm going to finish researching. Great. Okay, so we're done there. We're developing those, developing all of that. We may do that someday, but not just yet. Now we're going to do pilot training. Okay, Huffduff as it's normally pronounced. Which is a radio or high frequency. I forget exactly what that. Yes, damage control systems. We'll do that. No. We want to do that. We will do that eventually. But let's go back here and do ground crew and the Vanderbilt Cup. We just talked about Ali Beinhorn, Bernard Rossemar, which is her husband, wins the Vanderbilt Cup in America. That's a painting of his car and part of the race and him winning it there. So, yep, cost us 5 money to send him off to the U.S. to run the race. Money for rare materials, money, yes. Hossbach Memorandum. No, Hossbach, I should say. Hossbach, there's no R in it. Hossbach Memorandum. This is a summary of the meeting with Hitler and his military and foreign policy leadership. Basically, this is where he spells out full-scale war. Now they're putting that somewhere 41. I normally think 42, 43 is, and again, I don't know what this says, but I'm trying to remember, like, from some of the early books I read, like Spears and some of the others that were talking about production, that it was going to be a few years later than that. So the NSDAP gains a lot of organization. July 37, I would put National Socialism, maybe 60% support in Germany at this point historically. Yeah, there, Okay, Reichswerke Hermann Goering. We talked about the 4-year plan. This was basically a government-owned company operating a very significant part of the 4-year plan. Notice industrial capacity. It says lose in Dortmund and Dusseldorf. Trust me, you're getting it. It's increasing. Various armaments factories. It's all increasing. So don't worry. They'll lose the money, the rare materials, and the manpower, which is represented. Yep, it's digging you 40, and I don't think you're getting it back, because I'm going, hey, you're getting these factories for very little, but it takes manpower to run them, and not all of the factories can be put over to women, because men and women are not equal in strength. Not arguing before the law or any of that kind of stuff. But it just, before, and so they're not equal in strength. But then it's also the realities of this time in the 1930s. They're not equal in mindset either. Meaning you're not going to get women moving into heavy industry. It's just not going to effectively happen. You can take a percentage of the jobs around heavy industry, in the big industrial complexes, some of the administrative and some of the other light duty stuff, and get women into it. And then as you really sort of get into the war mindset, you can get women into building like aircraft factories and doing a lot of the riveting, and which are sort of light, delicate work. You can get them into that mindset. But in peacetime in Germany in 1937, you're not doing that. You're not even getting them into the aircraft factories at that point, because there's not a cultural, this is where I'm talking cultural here, mindset for them to do it. we can talk about Rosie the Riveter in America. A lot of the British women moved into like the aircraft industry, and in Germany they did as well. Never quite as heavily, but the women did move into a lot of other fields to help get men off of it. A lot of the farming and a lot of the stuff. Did quite a bit of it, a lot more than the Nazis normally want to talk about, but they did that kind of stuff. But that's because of the stress of the situation, of the war. So we have to talk, there's the difference between men and women, and then there's the difference between, you can say, the mindset of that period. So that's a lot of stuff for, I think, very little, but okay, so we want to do that. We have to do that. You've chosen to do that by having if you wanted to stop it before that event fired, you could have got rid of Goering in charge of the 4-year plan, which will end the 4-year plan. Okay, depth charges have advanced. So you do have choices. And I'm sort of saying some of this. I know a lot of you, at least philosophically, agree with what's going on here, but I have quite honestly taken to heart some of the design imperatives of Hearts of Iron 4, is that it's a game about choices. You get to make choices. They, in their viewpoint, the developers, I don't know exactly which ones think which, but their basic line is they like a lot more free-flowing toughness or defensiveness. I can wait on this a little bit, maybe. I don't know if I'll wait for your reply, but which one I should do, I don't know. I just don't know which one is. Now there's the historical one, and then there's which one is more effective, and I definitely don't know which one is more effective. Their superiority tactics. So yeah, so it takes out my manpower. So back to the choices thing. So they're very much sort of their philosophy is a lot more as if you're going to do that, you'd need the ability. Oh, don't form the Reichswerke Hermann Goering, or do form it. Well, we've sort of already set the path down the road, and it's a lot more forward thinking than the sort of immediate response that you can get out of that stuff. It's fighter bomber prototypes. Okay. A lot of that, I think, from them comes from maybe the very real lack of knowledge of the player and don't know the long-term or short-term consequences of their choices. So that you're making a decision in 36 that's going to force you to do something in 39, and maybe down the road, they want a lot more flexibility. I don't know. I could see that players get frustrated and forced into this and all this stuff, and not realizing that they made the choice long before. But it's sort of the way the world works. It's not immediately responsive. Okay, twin engine armament research. And it's sort of like played some Total War, Rome Total War 2 or whatever you want to call that, with the mods. And playing as the Seleucid Empire and seeing what's going on here and immediately making decisions, and seeing what's going on here, immediately making decisions and having them affected in that period isn't totally unrealistic if you're sitting in the capital, because you don't have the communications. Now, obviously, this is a game, and writing the orders to say you attack here and takes a month or whatever to get down there, and then they start preparing, and then they go, and all of that stuff, that it could just be, I don't know, boring, or I could see it also being very interesting too, but just being sort of hard to do for a lot of players, and including myself maybe, having all that sort of lead time. So you're sort of playing the local guys as well as the national well-organized guys. And of course, the AI is doing it too, so it's sort of fair in that sense. But when we're looking at World War II, with radio communications, with telephone communications, and you can see the sort of the bad example of that is Hitler in the bunker, the Wolf Slayer or whatever, getting daily battle reports of what's going on out in Stalingrad, and sending back orders, constantly. Now, that's the bad result of micromanaging from the top at this stage. But I often point to Churchill doing similar things, but now he was both a military leader. He was in the army. He fought in wars, and in other wars he was just there in them as a correspondent. And then other times he, takes over the Admiralty in World War I, and then early parts of World War II. So he's also very much of a actual naval commander as well, not a ship commander. I don't think he was qualified to command a ship in that sense, but as a sort of strategic naval commander. And I made mistakes being a strategic naval commander, but he was very familiar with the needs of the Navy. So he very much gets the reports, but he gives general directives to his commanders in the field, and then expects them to figure out how to do them. So it's sort of, he does them well, Hitler does them bad. So it becomes realistic, starting really in the Second World War, to have a centralized command, and you can get to modern day. And I know for a fact, I'm going to do this in a non-political sense, because with Reagan and the Reagan administrations and the Lebanon situation, the Marines in Beirut, in their system, they were literally, well, we're taking fire from X position over here, and can we get permission to return fire? And those decisions were literally be made in Washington, in the White House in some cases, or in the Pentagon, because they would have a map of Lebanon and the Beirut area, and what militias controlled where, and do they want to fire back, and who it might upset, and all this stuff. And it was being, literally, they were in a bunker looking out and taking, whether sniper fire or artillery fire or mortar fire, literally taking that stuff and asking permission of people in Washington whether the Marines could return fire. I mean, so that, that's back in the 80s. I didn't want to make it like that I'm bashing Obama or something. It was not maybe quite as bad, but some of that stuff was, at least to the Pentagon, was targeting in like Iraq and Afghanistan. But again, it's not necessarily a right or left or Republican or Democrat thing. It's like saying it was run that way under a Republican administration. So you can go to that bad, as opposed to just saying, oh, well, you guys protect yourselves, do what you need in Lebanon, So we have that kind of thing. So your command and control can work out this way as we're doing this. Okay. And so yes, you do have immediate responses to your orders, but still you have to have some forward planning ability and understanding. Okay, twin engine aircraft. No aircraft here, twin engine. Okay, we're going to, a moment. That allows us twin engine prototypes now. Very good. we're going to stop this production. There are a few more interesting events in the... we can afford it. So we're going to pay for it. I would love to get blimp and Zeppelin units for Hearts of Iron 4. I mean, it would be cool for Hearts of Iron 2, but I'd love to get them on map and do that. That would be so cool. So basically, the U.S. won't give us helium, so, but we're going to continue with the hydrogen anyways, because the U.S., particularly the U.S., used extensive use of blimps once the war gets started to go after the submarines. They had several air disasters, mostly, not entirely. Some of it was just underfunding and maintenance of some of the airships, but a couple of them were in bad weather that were very disastrous and highly cost lives. With the U.S. Navy, with rigid airships, Zeppelins, whatever you want to call them, that would have been very useful for the U.S. Navy to have some Zeppelins. You got to fly them in the right weathers. You got to be prepared to get out of rough weather zones, and just realize that you got to avoid them, especially the U.S., which I think we're the only ones who effectively were launching fighter aircraft from Zeppelins and recovering them. And you may go, what, fighter aircraft? Zeros would shoot those Zeppelins down instantaneously. Yep, you're right, but patrolling off like California, where you have basically no Japanese aircraft, and you have Zeppelins out there that launch like fighter type aircraft that go out and hunt subs, and once you sort of get the sub in an area, you realize that, okay, they see the fighter aircraft or whatever and they dive, but you move the Zeppelin over that area and you keep searching around with fighter aircraft. You keep those subs submerged all day long, or if they come anywhere near the surface, they get spotted and they get bombed, and it just makes them much less effective to operate. And you can even get out there at night once you get radar going, to try to get even just like if you just get just enough of the conning tower to be out, that's still enough of a radar signal. If you're close enough with the right types, a lot of technical stuff there that I don't know, but that, as well as going after German U-boats on the Atlantic coast, which they did with, like I say, with blimps, to really shut that down and make it almost impossible to operate while you have, at least in the daylight, while you have the airships of either sort up there. Makes it very difficult to operate because they can spot and call in other aircraft, call in surface vessels, and once they get into that area to hunt them, they can only surface in the day to recharge their batteries, and if they're running their engines flat out on the surface to get away from them, you can't charge your battery so much because you have to so much of the power to the batteries and so much of the power to the engine. It just makes it harder to operate, and in a sort of a close area with enough of those kind of things operating, makes it functionally impossible to operate. You just can't do that. And so, like Germany, they scrapped the Graf Zeppelin. Actually, sort of Graf Zeppelin 2 and Graf Zeppelin 1, because the Graf Zeppelin 1 was still around, although not operating at the time. At the start of the war, for its aluminum, basically. But had they kept those in service, obviously they weren't set up to recover aircraft. I would have tried to move them as far the east as possible. Maybe to East Prussia, depending. I mean, when you're fighting Poland, you sort of protect that. And then once the right times of year, especially like in summer up here. Now, if the British are operating a carrier, or sometimes they were even operating one-use fighter aircraft that would take off from a catapult, nowhere to land, and they go up there and operate. They were designed to shoot down condors or whatever, and then basically crash land in the ocean next to a vessel that would recover the pilot. That would definitely affect it. But when you have the 24 hours of sunlight basically up here for the Murmansk convoys, having some Zeppelins up there, not to attack because they anti-aircraft guns or whatever to attack the enemy, but just as a threat, which would force into bigger convoys, would force them to use carriers to protect them and that type of thing, as opposed to just sort of relying upon surface crafts. Because if you get outside of the anti-aircraft gun range of a battleship or whatever, they can't touch you. You can sit up there and keep radioing the location, radioing their direction, and they vector in, whether it would be vectoring in the turrets or vectoring in submarines or vectoring in a proper attack aircraft. There is uses for a Zeppelin. Now maybe the aluminum's more important to put into some fighter aircraft. I don't know. But there's definitely uses for that. Now, again, you can't anymore, like in World War I, try to bomb London with Zeppelins, but there are still military uses for them. Limited, assuredly, specialty, assuredly, but uses. So, well, we're going to end the episode here. I want to thank you all for liking the videos. I do appreciate that. Please post questions, comments, suggestions, ideas. Love hearing from you. See you next time for more Hearts of Iron.